So I was on Twitter today and I came across this tweet that says, art directors must be on strike. Dear God. And on the image, you have the new Taylor Swift record, the Charlie XCX record, Ariana Grande. And I think there's a pretty interesting discussion to be had on visuals in the music industry as a whole. Talking with an old vocal coach of mine, I remember her saying to me that she dislikes how music now is all about having a pretty face or good visuals. But for me, in the last 10 years, I feel like it's been a really strong point of the industry. It's like your art doesn't have to be limited to just music itself, but it can go beyond that and it can be a world that you're building. I personally really enjoy seeing more than just the music itself, but getting to know an artist deeper through visuals. Specifically artists like Gene Dawson, Break Hints, Junior Varsity, Aries. I feel like these are artists that do it really well and it creates just a better experience as a whole. But it definitely seems like over the last 2 or 3 years or so, we're definitely moving towards a quantity over quality type of model. As a creative that really got invested in creating my own music, specifically because I was inspired by artists like that, it's just kind of discouraging to see that this is the way things are going. Even with the recent craze of AI, it seems like artists are finding easier and easier ways to just get the artwork done with and not really care for it as well. And I don't particularly have a problem with doing a simple cover art like a nice photo, or even if it's just script on screen. I think there are different ways to do it and you don't have to make something complicated or profound if that's not your strong suit. I think just my biggest gripe is overall the trend seems to be that it's less and less about the quality and it's more about trying to find that hit factor that's just going to take off. It's an industry and it's a business, so everything is obviously going to be somewhat about money, but I feel like this is also infecting the minds of independent artists as well. I often see a lot of the best breakthrough artists that are coming through TikTok and actually have great music, but they're investing nothing into the visual sides of things, and I just feel like that's such a wasted potential. I definitely know that for myself specifically, the visual identity of an artist is something that can help me really feel like I relate with them. There is definitely way more priority in putting together a TikTok campaign than to actually think through a really thought out trailer to introduce something like your album. Creating an album is a really big thing. I don't see why you would want to spend 1 to 2 years on a project just to not really give it a face. It's like you've worked so hard at this point to create something that's really valuable to you, or at least I hope it would be valuable to you. And then you get to the final end and all of your work is done and you could do something as simple as commission an artist you love, but it seems like people just want to do something like an AI cover, or they just don't put too much thought into it. The corporate sides of things is starting to infect the independent artists because now they have to keep up with the pace of what the corporate is doing. They can just crap out the music and they can just throw on the money for the ads and they can just try to get together a little TikTok campaign. I think the problem with that is that these independent artists are struggling to keep up, so they just have to keep rolling out music and they can't really spend the time on the visuals that they might have wanted to spend in the past. Back in the day, how you would try to get yourself out there is you would try to sell CDs on the streets, but that's not really an option anymore. People don't really use a CD player. And there is the option of live shows. It's something that admittedly I haven't really tapped into myself yet, but I just feel like a few years ago, before the oversaturation, it was like the internet was this powerful tool that you could finally do what you could as an independent to actually compete with people at the top. And it's just a shame that we went from such a high bar to just lowering it over time to the point where now it just seems like it's all about your output. And like I said, it's just hard to compete with as an independent. Because I don't have the resources, I already have to do essentially everything on my own. I'm producing the music, I'm writing and recording the music, I'm mixing it, and then I'm doing the cover art and everything. I would love to spend that time and I would love to invest more into my art, but the problem is that the industry is just crapping out stuff so fast and they're just not caring. Slap an AI cover, send it out, all of this. And it's getting to the point where, to me, I feel the pressure on myself that I have to continue to find ways to push myself further than I would have liked to, not from an artistic standpoint, but from I'm trying to overdo it. I'm trying to exhaust myself to the point where I'm keeping up with what's going on. One thing I'd love to see is one of these really high-end artists that pull in millions and millions of streams every day to try to create something that's deeper than themselves, to do something like what Quedeca did recently. I think it'd be dope, and I think overall there just needs to be a new precedent set in the scene that makes people want to give their art an extra effort. Anyways though, that's all I have to say. Peace out. So tell me if you wanna go ride. You know I'm saving up pocket change for